because we have three amazing panelists in our main stream, and we are going to be having a really, really interesting panel discussion with them today. I would just like to take a moment and welcome Sibel Negris from webnames.ca, Nicole Quinn from Stem Cell Technologies, and Cheryl Neal from IBM. Welcome. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How are you?
Good, thank
Great.
you.
Doing great.
Yeah, did you enjoy the early morning?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome, folks, to our main mentorship panel. It's really, really good seeing you all again. What we are going to do is I just want to take a moment and give you guys a chance to introduce yourself. So why don't we go through and just maybe say a little bit about ourselves, about what we do, and the organization that we are with. So let's start with Sibel.
Great, thanks, Cindy. Just checking to make sure that everybody can hear me because I can't see anyone.
I can definitely hear you,
Yep.
and
Okay, wonderful.
our stream can hear you as well.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Sibel Negris. I'm the CEO and co-founder of webnames.ca. That's the company name. We were the original founders of the .ca domain name in Canada. So for example, when you go to the website scienceworld.ca, or say you've eaten at McDonald's, mcdonalds.ca, or you've shopped at MEC, mec.ca, or aritzia.ca, which actually forwards to aritzia.com. Those are all bought from us. So that's kind of a gist of what we do. My business partner actually started .ca in Canada back in 1987. That was way before any of you were born and before the World Wide Web even, or even before email was really used by the general public. So he did that for free as a volunteer for about 13 years, but all his work was through email and faxes and very manual. So when I met him in 1999, we built the first website to start taking orders for .ca domain names, and then we started charging a fee for it. So we eventually sold the .ca registry to the Canadian Internet Registration Authority, or CIRA for short, and we started webnames.ca to sell domain names directly to businesses. We grew from 3 to 30 people in about 4 months, and we did about $2.5 million in our first year. And today, it's 20 years later, we have 800 products or more, like email and web hosting services, lots of different domain names like .com, .tech, .yoga, even .pizza, and hundreds more, not just .ca anymore. And our head office is down the street from Science World. So when I look out the window, I see the beautiful dome. And we have multiple locations with people across North America.
Awesome. Thanks, Sibel. Nicole, what about you?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for. I'm really excited to be here. So my name's Nicole Quinn, and I'm a scientist. So I'm actually Dr. Nicole Quinn, but not the same kind of doctor as Dr. Bonnie Henry. So she has a medical doctorate, and I have a PhD. So that means that I've learned how to do experiments and how to be a scientist. So my background is in genetics, so it was really cool to see the talk from Genome BC, because that's what I used to do. I researched cancer biology for some years, and then I did some research on salmon and their DNA. But after that, I moved on, and I now work for Stem Cell Technologies. So again, we're also really close to Science World. So when I am at the office, I can see the dome as well. And what we do at Stem Cell is we help scientists do their research. So scientists who are working at hospitals or universities or other companies who are researching cures for diseases or treatments for diseases, we help them by developing tools and technologies and instruments and reagents and ingredients and even education for them. So to help them do their research faster and more efficiently and more effective. So my job at Stem Cell, because helping people requires a lot of communication, I run the communication team. So I have a team of about 25 people, and we do social media channels and websites and email newsletters. We even have a podcast to help keep current on what's going on out there in the scientific world and help scientists keep current on what each other are doing. So yeah, that's what my job is.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. And Cheryl, what about you?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cheryl Neal, and I work for IBM. I live here in beautiful BC in North Vancouver. I have two daughters who are in university, and what I do for IBM is I have a team of people all across Canada, and we help businesses innovate and be more successful. So some examples of IBM and things that we do are instant tellers. Sometimes if you go to the bank and you take money out of an instant teller, a lot of the software that runs behind the instant teller is being developed by IBM. Or if you go to the grocery store and you're buying something at the grocery store, we have retail solutions that we help our clients with. So a very broad set of solutions, and I'm so excited to be here today and looking forward to hearing more of your questions.
Awesome. Thank you folks so much for sharing that. So we did mention this a little bit yesterday when we were having our little dress rehearsal. But I know we all mentioned that we had such diverse backgrounds and, obviously, Sibel, you wouldn't be able to maybe answer a question about genetics or about anything like that. Or Nicole, you wouldn't be able to answer a question about like business solutions in grocery stores. So we all have very diverse backgrounds, and science is STEAM is such a diverse field. I just wanted to ask really quick, what kind of schooling, and I know Nicole, you kind of went into this a little bit, or what kind of educational background really brought you into the field that you're in? Why don't we start with you, Sibel?
Great. So my path is a little bit unusual, I would say, because I feel like I missed out on my STEAM education. So when I went to high school, computer science was actually an elective in grade 10. And it was during a time, like I learned how to type on an electric typewriter, not on a computer. And our school only had a few computers for everybody to share. So there were no girls in computer science. So I took other things. I didn't take computer science, and I feel like I've completely missed out on that. So I've actually told people that I feel like I'm a bit of an imposter in the technology field because I don't have a degree or a background in technology at all. But I definitely learned things on the job along the way. So my university degree is actually in psychology. And I started out in business, knowing that I wanted to be in business, but then didn't really know what I wanted to do, and ended up with a psychology degree. And I did end up working at the university, and then worked in a pharmaceuticals company and helped to build that to about 40 people before going public to a public company. And then I exited that company and then started a construction company, and then started Web Names 2 years after that. So I've kind of jumped around a lot, and I still tell people I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
That's awesome. Cheryl, what about you? What kind of educational background brought you into the field you're in today?
Thanks, Cindy. So I went to UBC, to the Sauder School of Business, and I did take some computer science courses at UBC, but I can say that wasn't actually my vision. When I was in university, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and tried a number of different courses, and that's one of the recommendations I would have for everybody today is keep trying different things, and so that you can find out what your passion was. And honestly, I didn't really find my passion until after university, and I had done a few other things along the way, and then joined IBM and have had many different opportunities within IBM. So that's my story.
Awesome. Thanks, Cheryl. And Nicole, you did mention a little bit about your educational background in your introduction, but I just wanted to ask, how did you really realize your passion in research or your direction in research when you maybe started even your undergrad, or did that even come before your university career?
Yeah, so no, it didn't come before my university career. In fact, it didn't come until I found myself there accidentally. So I did an undergrad in genetics and environmental sort of conservation biology. I was very interested in the environment, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do after that. And I happened to be offered a position in a lab from one of my professors to do a master's degree, and I'd never done any research, and so it was a very steep learning curve at first, but very quickly learned that I loved science and the sort of process of science. I did discover, so I finished a master's degree, and then I worked for a little while, actually, at the BC Cancer Agency in a lab, and then I went back and did my PhD, and discovered sort of halfway through that I didn't really want to continue with research, which is a very as a scientist, you're trained to become a researcher. As a scientist, you're trained to do research, maybe at a university. And I realized that I was very interested in communication, and I was doing a lot of teaching and a lot of writing and a lot of mentorship, and that's where I wanted to take my career. So I kind of veered off quite late, and I can tell you that I did not expect myself to be working for a large biotechnology company, and I didn't think that a job like this ever existed. I'm still discovering every day at my job what the opportunities are, and what I can do with my career. So it wasn't an intentional path. I just followed what was really interesting to me and where I seemed to be succeeding, and really kept an open mind throughout, and still do.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nicole. I actually really wanted to touch on something that Sibel said earlier about how you might feel like you're an imposter sometimes because, like, not coming from technology background and working in a technology field or something like that. And I think a really common feeling that I get, certainly oftentimes, is that feeling of imposter syndrome, or feeling like I might not be qualified for the work that I'm doing. Do you ever, have experiences with that sort of sensation? And if so, how do you manage it? And I'll actually open this one up for the floor.
Well, I'm happy to talk about imposter syndrome. I've actually written a number of articles, and you can find those articles on Business in Vancouver at biv.com. If you just Google my name with imposter syndrome. I've spoken about imposter syndrome quite a bit, just because it's something I've struggled with all my life. And it wasn't just because I happen to be in an industry that is still pretty male dominated, and have been most of my life, first being in a pharmaceuticals company, and then of course construction, which is even worse than technology. So I would end up going to technology events, say 20 years ago, and people would automatically assume that I was either the spouse, like the wife or the girlfriend of my business partners, my male business partners. And nobody ever thought that I was one of the leaders or the CEO of the company. And it felt like I didn't belong, because in an event with 300 people, there would be a handful of women. Things have started to change, and I think it's wonderful to see so many young women interested in technology and in the STEAM fields, because things have started to change. And when you go to an event now, there are so many women who are there, and I think that's really important to ensure that even when you don't feel like you belong. Now, what I tell people is look at it as an advantage. If you're one of a few like you in a room, guess who stands out? Use that as an opportunity and as an advantage for yourself. The media wanted to talk to me and not with my male business partners at the time. So I feel that I received a lot of media attention and a lot of advantages because I'm female. So think of it that way. Always turn those obstacles into your advantage.
That's actually a really interesting way to look at it. Sorry.
Maybe add a comment.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to say,
I was
Nicole.
just going to add a comment. one thing that I've noted is sometimes women don't try things because they're afraid they might not be successful. And I guess if I could encourage any of you young women out there is be confident in yourself. You're a lot more capable than you think you are. You don't need to qualify 100% for something in order to try it. So put yourself out there, look for opportunities to learn, and just to build on something that Bonnie Henry said, which is curiosity has taken her a long way in her career and in her professional life. And I would encourage you to follow your curiosity. Don't stay within your comfort zone. Look for new ways to challenge yourself, and you'll learn lots from it, and you'll be more successful.
Yeah, I would echo both of those sentiments. Curiosity, absolutely, and I think the thing that I learned early on, there's a lot of imposter syndrome in academia. There's a lot of incredibly smart, really accomplished people, and a lot of them are men. And what I learned early on is that they're just people. They're just people like everyone else. And if you can, instead of seeing the professor who is trying to, their jobs as professors are to try to find out what you don't know. And so they will push and push and push. And that's sort of the culture of graduate school is to be pushed to the point of, really your limits. And if you can see through that and see they're just people doing their jobs and try not to get intimidated and realize you're a person too and you have just as much value as them. Maybe not as much knowledge, but that's just an opportunity to learn. And there's a reason you're in the room that you're in. So I try to think of that all the time. I mean, I'm all the time working with really incredible mentors and people who are amazing at their jobs. And if I step into the room and think these are all just people too, and they all have their skills that they're bringing to the table, and think of it as an opportunity to learn. It's really helped.
Amazing. And that actually, Nicole, what you just said brought us seamlessly into my next question, which is do you think, or are there people that have like inspired you significantly or helped you along your way in your career? And again, I'll open this one up to the floor.
I can start, absolutely. So many people. The person that comes to mind immediately is the CEO of Stem Cell Technologies, which is Dr. Alan Eves, who's had an incredible career. He was a scientist, a very accomplished scientist, and faculty member at UBC, and then started Stem Cell after. And his motivation for the company is just all about helping scientists. And so that goes into everything we do at Stem Cell. And I said before that I didn't ever picture myself working in a business. I wanted to help science and contribute to science, and I didn't necessarily think that was going to be done from a place of industry. And I've completely been corrected, because I've seen now that you can, everything is a piece of the puzzle. Everything contributes, and I can see that there's genuine interest in helping people there. And so he's an incredible inspiration.
I can go next. And I would say first and foremost would be my father. He's passed away, but I just remember growing up, I was born in Hong Kong and moved here when I was 8 years old. And I know that my family moved here for me, really. Honestly, I think it was very competitive in Hong Kong, and I was getting super stressed out being one of those perfectionists. And I got to a point where I think my parents realized that moving to Canada, I would get a more balanced education. And when we moved here, he experienced a lot of racism. And even though he was the president of Alcoa Asia, which was a big aluminum company, and he had a super senior job, when we got here, he couldn't find a job. And I remember him applying at the 7-Eleven as a manager, and he didn't get the job. So he kept trying and he kept trying. And I just saw the resilience and the grit in him, just following his strength and eventually, finding a career here as an entrepreneur and in consulting work. And so that inspired me, that he always taught me, you don't need to be smarter than everybody else. You just need to work hard. And that work ethic was ingrained into me. And I think that's served me really well through my life.
Yeah, I would echo your comments, and I've been very fortunate to have support from lots of different areas of my life. My parents early in my life, my father in particular was challenged me to be the best that I could be, and then as time went on, I had friends as well as mentors at IBM. But you find the support in the most interesting places. I remember coming back from maternity leave after my first child, and I was very nervous about coming back because I'd been away for a year, and in technology, a year can be something like 10 years because everything changes so quickly. And my manager at the time wanted to give me a promotion and a very big job after coming back from maternity leave. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not sure that I can do that. And he looked at me and he said, Cheryl, you're the most capable person on the team. You can do it. And he was right. And he was very thoughtful and said, if you feel like you need to work 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week so that you can manage your work and your family life, we'll accommodate because you're the best person for the job. So it's interesting. You find support even when you're not expecting it. And that was very important to me at that time in my career.
That's fantastic, folks. Thank you so much for sharing all those stories of inspiration and support. And I think we have about 5 minutes left, so I just want to squeeze in one last question before we wrap up, which is kind of open-ended, but what advice would you give a 12-year-old who is interested in your line of work? Let's start with you, Cheryl.
Okay. So similar to what I said before is I would encourage everybody to open yourself up to new opportunities. In the summertime, look for opportunities to participate in STEM camps so that you can explore lots of different avenues as to careers that you might want to pursue. I would also, as you get older on in your career, I'd look for people who are in careers that you're interested in. I always booked interest interviews with people, and I told them I wasn't necessarily looking for a job, but I wanted to just learn more about what they did so that I could figure out where I wanted to take my career. So I would say keep yourself open to new opportunities and network. Get to know people, understand what they do, so that you can understand what the options are when you're pursuing your career.
Awesome. Maybe I'll jump in next because I don't know where Cynthia's gone here, but yeah, I would say pay attention to some of the skills that you are learning that you might not realize you're learning. So my day now, I mean, it's very important that I understand the science that's going into things, but I really spend my days communicating with people, and I do a lot of speaking and writing emails and leading teams and communicating with people. And none of that was specifically taught to me. I didn't take a class in writing or in speaking. But it's stuff that I learned along the way because of the work I was doing. So I would say make sure that there's a lot of people in my field, a lot of scientists who come out of their masters and their PhDs, and they're excellent scientists, but not necessarily excellent employees because they don't have those extra skills that you need to work really well with people or to communicate well with people. And it's unfortunate to see. So I would say pay attention to every opportunity you have to learn and every opportunity you have to practice a new skill.
That's excellent. And I would agree with both Nicole and Cheryl. And for me, I would say, I mean, STEAM learning is so important. Science and technology are here to stay. And to me, science is forever. Technology is our future. And with technology, you think about how far things have gone, where technology was kind of a skill that people started to learn, and now it's part of all of our lives every day. And if you're not a technology company, you're a technology enabled company. And that's where our world is going with artificial intelligence, and with everything going faster and smaller, and internet's going to be everywhere. When I was growing up, there was no internet access, there was no internet. And now my teenagers, they are expecting to get on their phones while we're driving anywhere. So things have come a long way, but I would say that things are going to continue to change at a really fast pace. So don't forget about the STEAM education, even if that's not a field that you're going to go into. And as both of the speakers previously said, I think leadership opportunities is really important. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And when there are those opportunities, whether you're working in a group for a school project, or you're in a club, don't be afraid to take that leadership role, because that's going to serve you well in the future. And look at every step, every piece of learning that you have as a stepping stone. And just like Nicole had said, every learning opportunity is important. And any job that I had, whether it was working in a retail store, I worked in a garden shop doing landscaping with a bunch of burly guys. I worked in the bone marrow transplant program at the university. I worked in HR and finance. Like, no matter what that job was, whether it was folding clothes or something much more important in terms of taking care of those going into a bone marrow transplant, the learnings were all there. I took something away from everything that I did. So just keep learning as you go through.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate you all taking the time and speaking to me and our audience. It was super inspiring, and I definitely learned something. So thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. I think we are out of time, so we are going to wrap this up. But again, thank you guys for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Bye.